Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zane here, and I'm finally back with another Pokemon VGC upload for you all. I know it's been a long time, but high school has been super busy, especially with college applications, and the VGC season actually kicked off for me, so I've been kind of busy training for the actual circuit now that I have to play to get an invite for Worlds again. If you follow me on social media at all though, either on Twitter or Facebook, you'll know that I actually attended 2 tournaments ever since Worlds ended, basically, and I managed to win both of them. One of them was a smaller grassroots tournament that didn't count for anything other than, a couple cool prizes. The second one was actually a premier challenge this past weekend with 35 players in Kings Games, New York. Ended up winning that tournament undefeated, and there were a ton of great players, so I won 40 championship points towards my Worlds invite, which I'm really excited about. And it's a nice way to start the season off, especially since my little brother Brendan also won in seniors. So I'll bring more information on how I did in that tournament, including battle videos as well, so stay tuned for that. But today I'm going into one of the older games. This one was actually from the first grassroots tournament, where I decided to change my Ferrothorn for my Worlds team onto Mega Mawile. I also replaced Gothitelle, or I changed up Gothitelle's moveset to add Tickle onto it, much like World Champion Sejun Park had. My opponent here is Ezreal, also known as Jonathan. He's a super strong player who actually hasn't attended many tournaments, but I know he's really good. He's actually got a lot of threats to my team, including Scizor and Mega Tyranitar, so I'm kind of scared of those two, especially as a Mega Mawile player. But yeah, this was game 1 in top 4 of the grassroots tournament, so without spoiling much more, let's just get into the battle. Now going in, I know that I really want Gothitelle to set up the Trick Room, but by bringing Gothitelle, it's kind of a liability because he's got a lot of Pokemon that have good matchups against Gothitelle, namely the Tyranitar and the Scizor. So I say to my, the goal for this game is if I do set up Trick Room, make sure that I actually use the turns of Trick Room well enough, don't just let the Gothitelle slot do absolutely nothing. He makes a really good lead right here with Ludicolo and Scizor against my Hariyama and Gothitelle. So I decide I don't want Gothitelle getting hit by a bug-type attack. Scizor can carry X-Scissor or U-turn. So I make the safe switch into Mawile. There's not much that can really go wrong here. He goes for the Fake Out onto Mawile, surprisingly, instead of the Hariyama, but, anticipation that he did go for the Fake Out on that slot, I also chose to Fake Out his Scizor. So the first turn actually plays out really well for me because I don't take much damage. Gothitelle does not take much damage. Mawile is able to come in safely. I'm going to Mega Evolve here because I actually just want to start using Mega Mawile as soon as possible. Scizor goes for the U-turn, which I definitely was not anticipating. I'm so used to the Lumberry, Swords Dance, X-Scissor, but, Scizor in general is not that popular this year. But I would not, be surprised to see a resurgence of it, mainly because Gothitelle is picking up a lot of popularity since Worlds. So he makes an excellent play here, switching into the Salamence with the U-turn, getting the Intimidate off against both my physical attackers. Ludicolo gets the Scald off. Scald, of course, less damage than Hydro Pump, but has the 30% chance to burn. Fortunately enough, does not burn me, but he still did a good amount of damage, and the Intimidate was really scary. So I play rough and do around 75% close combat onto the Salamence instead of the Ludicolo. I really should have just doubled up into Ludi in anticipation of the switch in. This following turn, I just, stay in with both my Pokemon and don't protect with Mawile. I know if he Fire Blast the Mawile, then I can just close combat the Ludi and then lock him in with Gothitelle. So he actually just Draco Meteors the Hariyama, which I'm perfectly fine with. Now, unfortunately, my Mawile actually isn't carrying Sucker Punch. You would have imagined I would have Sucker Punched a Ludicolo here. Instead, I decide to just play rough the Salamence target. But because he actually burns me with Scald, I'm not able to pick up the KO, and I take burn damage. This is really bad because the burn counter is ticking down. Had he not gotten the burn, I actually would have been able to bring in Gothitelle safely, set up Trick Room, and Mawile would actually still be able to survive. This next turn, I kind of make a silly play by protecting Mawile because I know I'm going to lose it anyway to burn. So I should have just went for an attack there. I guess I was fearing, there really was no idea, not much reason to, protect at that slot. It was either attack, protect, or switch out. Switching out obviously was the play I did not want to make because I didn't want to get attacked by, say, a Scald, because my last Pokemon is Rotom Heat. So I actually lose Mawile there. It wouldn't have mattered in the long run, but, just in the future, you have to consider the plays, the better plays you can make, and he most likely could have doubled up into the Gothitelle here. So now I'm down 4-2. But the game's still not necessarily over. I go for the Psyshock onto Ludicolo, which actually picks up the KO because Ludicolo's defense, of course, is not very good. And his Salamence is currently, his special attack is so low. And with that amount of damage, I'm actually able to pick up the KO. So you see Gothitelle's ability to lock in Pokemon really proving clutch here. So suddenly the game's 4-2, it was 4-2, and now I brought it back to 2-2. Rotom Heat obviously can beat the Scizor. So Tyranitar comes out, and I've basically given up. You know, what's a Rotom Heat and a Gothitelle going to do against a Tyranitar? There's really not much I can do to win this game. But I figure there's basically one way I can still have a chance of winning this game. You know, I run Will-O-Wisp and Tickle and Rest on my Gothitelle, so I say, okay, if Scizor protects this turn, then I can Tickle and Will-O-Wisp the Tyranitar. That's going to, you know, drastically decrease its attack, and then the following turn I can Overheat the Scizor, Tickle the Tyranitar again, and suddenly Tyranitar just won't be able to do anything against my team, because, you know, even despite the fact he's a pretty powerful Mega Evolution, once you get all these, you know, attack decreases off, it's really helpful. So he goes for the Rock Slide here, but I do get the Tickle and the Burn Off. You see there, it does less than 50% to Rotom Heat, even with the critical hit. So I'm really impressed by that. And suddenly I actually figured out a way to win this game. And I say to myself, wow, you know, if Overheat can connect with the Scizor here, I might just be able to actually win. He Bullet Punches Rotom here, trying to pick up the KO with a Bullet Punch slash, because, you know, it's the last turn of Trick Room. I do go for another Tickle onto the Tyranitar. So Tyranitar's at -2 now, and it's burned. So if I can hit this Overheat, I can actually win this game. But Rotom misses the Overheat, which is really, really unfortunate. Had I hit the Overheat there, I think I actually would have been able to pull out with a win, because you see how little Rock Slide is doing at this point. My Rotom actually has safety goggles too. And the Tyranitar is obviously going to slowly faint from the burn. And especially with Rest on Gothitelle, you know, it basically would have been a super, super good way to just seal up the game. So I continue to Tickle the Tyranitar, so now it's at -3 and it's burned, but the Overheat miss really, really basically screwed me over. I needed Rotom Heat, obviously, alive to KO the Scizor, and that's not going to be the case anymore. Here he goes for the Rock Slide, not going to be able to KO me, but at this point I kind of gave up after I missed the Overheat. I knew there wasn't much I could do. He smartly protects there to stall out the last turn of Trick Room, so now he's going to be able to outspeed me. Of course, he actually carries Feint, so good move on his end there, and that's going to pick up the knockout onto Rotom Heat. And with that, my chances of winning the game. If I wanted any chance to win the game, I just needed to hit the Overheat against Scizor, and I really think if I hit the Overheat, I would have actually been able to pull out. You see, Tyranitar is just doing so little damage at this point. And I would have had, obviously, a Rotom Heat as well by the side. So it was really unfortunate. It would have been really, really cool to see a Gothitelle and a Rotom Heat come back down 4-2, especially against a Mega Tyranitar. And I felt so good after double targeting the Tyranitar play, but obviously the odds are going to always work out in your favor. So it was a bit demoralizing there, but still Jonathan played, you know, he played his odds and he did a good job. I'm sure he actually told me he didn't see the Tickle slash Will-O-Wisp play coming, and yeah, the Protect on Scizor was obviously the safe play, but it kind of sucks to not be rewarded for your predictions. But, you know, that's Pokemon, that's what you got to deal with, and Jonathan's able to seal up the 2-0 win there after a Crunch and U-turn combo onto the Gothitelle. So, you know, Scizor really doing its job there, KOing, you know, Gothitelle as really one of the best checks to Gothitelle out there right now. Not that popular for Pokemon, but super, super good. So really well played by Jonathan. You know, I fell down instantly 4-2 and I tried to figure out a way to win. Managed to figure it out, but unfortunately the odds did not work out in my favor with the burn on Mawile or the Overheat miss. But Jonathan played excellently, not to take away from his victory. I think he chose all the right Pokemon and made a lot of great plays. So yeah, that was game 1 of Top 4. I'll be bringing you guys games 2 and 3 very soon. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. As always, 500 likes is the goal. If you guys hit 500 likes, I'll bring you another upload right away. Anyway, that's it for today's battle, guys, and I'll see you next time. Peace.